Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushua, Ba'Shem Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of the World. Shalom to the brothers doing the work of Syrian truth. Um, saw this article and it kind of hit with a few other things to show like all these these current uh present like little freedoms and whatnot, like they're gonna be slowly just kind of weeded away and done away with. Because got this article on the Mail, Daily Mail. It says what Sadiq Khan plots to hit motorists in London with pay per mile charges to force drivers of polluting vehicles onto public transport. So yeah, it's basically a thing where what's it called, is gonna be done away with, man. The whole, owning your own car and and basically being able to maneuver to a certain extent. These things are basically being toned down, because like everything's basically being centralized and pushed towards that Kurogma system, where it's all within inside the system. It's all trackable and traceable, because you've had kind of increasing in recent times, like what car rentals. And it's like, rather than, especially for somewhere like London, where like driving is expensive and shit anyway, it's like most people might have a license and then they won't have a car. They might just, if they're going outside London somewhere, they might rent. And this is where it's kind of leaning towards, because it's for you to rent. It's like, okay, then you got to engage with the system. Same for if you basically, it's like if you want to stay so-called off the grid and have your own vehicle, they're just going to be charging you money, or basically limiting the capacity of how you can deal with that. And it's funny because like Brexit is kind of the jump off point for a lot of it, because you had something similar as well. I believe it's Amazon said from like later in this year, like maybe April or something, they're no longer taking visa payments. I believe it's Amazon saying they're no longer taking visa payments because like the charges are too high post Brexit. So then, and that's I think because Amazon and Visa are having a tiff. But it's like what all these different structures, all these different systems, it's they're slowly just gonna be chipped away at, to where, because that's what's happened with as far as with like the masks, with this whole lockdown with the pandemic. They basically had it where, like, over time, things that in 2019 would be like, there's no way people would be down with it. Now everyone's down, and there's no need to let up the gas. So this is what Sadiq Khan put. Okay. So Sadiq Khan was accused last night of clobbering hard at motorists with his plans to charge them by the mile in London. And that's kind of wild, like just charge by mile, because even from when, like back then they brought in like the congestion charge, that shit has been despised as well. And like they recently added the ULEZ ultra low emission zone, which is basically just another charge on top for people that have old cars, more or less. And and that's the thing, it's all about making money. It's not really, they're saying, oh, blah blah blah, the environment. But then if they're doing that, then they'll just say, look, you're gonna have to upgrade to this or whatever. They'll have systems in place. But instead and the thing is hella people are broke. It's like not many people buy new cars anyway. Most people will be, especially if they're younger, they'll just buy like a second-hand car, an old one. They ain't really gonna be buying some newfangled electric. So these things are there, knowing they're gonna make a certain amount of money. It's like fines and whatnot. It's a money making scheme. And it's it's that's how most of the angle they use for most of the things. They say, oh, it's for the environment, but then it'll be utilized completely different way. It says the capital's Labour mayor wants road pricing to force those who drive petrol or diesel cars to switch to public transport, walking, cycling, or electric vehicles where necessary. And I think that will apply to all the lorries, which is like a hell of a lot of the like deliveries are a huge chunk of what do you call it, of movement in London. So you'll have like overnight, like into the morning, you used to have hella deliveries coming from all over, from Europe, from wherever and whatnot. They're all gonna have to be paying by the mile. So it's like, this is some dystopian shit, because it's just like, bro, that's like, you're leaving your house to go for a walk and you're paying, you got the step counter and you're paying per step. When you're already paying road tax, you're already paying car insurance, you're already paying for your MOT, you're already paying for all sorts of things, you're paying for the petrol, you pay or the electric or whatever the fuck you use. So it's bruv, they're looking to drive these men into ground. There's going to be a myriad of systems utilized to do that as well, because it's like the taxes are still going up. Like April, people are going to feel that tax jump. Where necessary. So he said it's not willing to put off action to hit climate targets. Research commissioned by Mr. Khan found that a 27% reduction in London's car traffic is required by 2030 to meet net zero emissions. Yeah, so that they have these aims. We need to hit net zero by blah blah blah. And it's like the funny thing is like most of these emissions, it's gonna come from big fuck off companies. But then more or less all of the pressure is all the change ups and pressure is going to be applied to the people on the bottom, man, because it's about grinding them down to meal. Charge by 2030. So a report by City Hall said road user charging would be a simple and fair scheme that would replace existing fees such as congestion charge and ultra low emission zone. So yeah, they're saying rather than having it where it's even a zone, it's just going to be a thing where you're just charged anyway. Because even like the congestion charge zone, it was small and then it got expanded, and then the ULEZ, they just that shit is gigantic. So it's basically just about money, and then forcing them into the newer system as well, because a lot of these electric cars, they're all linked in with the Karagma system. If you're dealing with an old banger, that thing ain't gonna have no internet. It's not gonna be electronically based. It's not gonna have an electronic operating system like a lot of these newer cars have. It's basically just gonna be like raw, the raw mechanical engine, little simple mechanical things like a radio or whatever, Bluetooth and whatnot. Some might have, but for the newer ones, they're all linked in, man. It's like, or have your address, or have a link up with your phone for directions and whatnot, making phone calls for it. All these things, they'll literally have like a button press where it's like you can hack into the system of the cars to to do certain things. Like Tesla's a good example, but I know BMW does it as well. It's like a lot of these cars, Mercedes as well, they're moving towards, well, they've moved towards already, where it's like basically an operating system. Like it's like a computer. So that's as far as for Esau, everything he within his system, he's moving it towards that Karagma. But motoring groups including AA and RAC said policy should focus on helping motorists get electric vehicles rather than punishing those who cannot afford them. Yeah, because that's why it's like, you can tell it's about breaking people down. Because if you were to just like get them to jump on it, it's you break them down to where they're basically looking for that solution, man. That Hegelian dialectic, man. They're getting ground down. They're just like, yo, the one extreme is too much. Like the position I'm in is too fucked. Like we need some kind of solution in the middle. And then that's where, the Karagma system comes in and say, okay, look, just get this. It interfaces with all these things. You get all these kinds of aid. We'll look after you. So it says, AA President Edmund King said, we need to encourage uptake of cleaner, greener vehicles. The RNC's Nicholas Lai said these proposals could cause massive financial challenges for individuals, families and businesses who run the car. Yeah, a lot of the small businesses that run like out vans, they're going to be done. A guy that might just run, it's like if all of a sudden, because a lot of these guys that like run businesses by van, they ain't even going anywhere near the congestion charge zones. So it's like and they'll be driving up and down. If you got like 20 jobs in a day, these guys will be zooming about. If you're having to fucking pay for every single mile, that shit's gonna be just gonna absolutely destroy and bulldoze like how much money you can make. But that's another part of it, of what's being ground down. That's why it's by his policy it causes craft to prosper. These are the policies, man. It's basically breaking the people down and getting them clamoring for that Karagma, for that system that he's bringing in, so that they're basically going to be ready to jump on it. Says the City Hall document noted that the technology to charge drivers per mile is still years away from being ready yet. Even how they're fucking going to track that shit, like that's just fully the the Karagma system, man. That's for all that to be going down, because they have like systems now where it's like on cars you can get, for reduced insurance, you can get like black boxes put on to kind of track how you drive, so you can get reductions in like your costs, as long as you're keeping to the rules of the road and whatnot. You're in the area where you claim to be. But yeah, that's whatever they're looking to utilize here. Obviously goes beyond that to where it will be. They might just have it like where, okay, all these electric vehicles, whatever, all these vehicles are gonna be made with certain kind of standards in them, with a back door, so these things can be tracked and traced and keep an eye on people. So that's what all these systems come down to. So it's 3 years away from it. So Mr. Khan is considering policies that could be ready within the next few years. One approach is for the ultra low emission zone, which costs $12.50 per day to cover all of London. Yeah, money. Mr. Khan is also considering charging drivers from outside London from entering the city. Yeah, so you ain't gonna be able to drive in without, you're gonna have to pay a toll fee. This shit is insane. So as Mr. Lai has added, proposals to charge vehicles that enter London are likely to impact hardest on workers such as carers, tradespeople and nighttime staff for whom there is no alternative to using a vehicle. Yes, it's like these things aren't even a system to for them, like, to aid the people. It's basically gonna bring them harm and gonna fuck up their monetary situation, man. So Mr. Khan said he's not willing to stand by and wait when there's more we can do in London that can make a big difference. He went on, we often see measures to tackle air pollution and climate emergency delayed around the world because it's viewed as being too hard or politically inconvenient. Yeah, but that's the funny thing, is like most of those, when they're talking about like the people doing the most harm to the planet are these big super conglomerates that have shitloads of money. The biggest companies, they're the ones doing the most harm. Like some little, the average motherfucker recycling their straws and their plastic bags ain't gonna be slowing that shit down. But that's why it's like these systems, it's for the peons, for the people on the bottom to get ground down, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.